I'm Dixon Monk. I'm the Executive Director of the Colonial World Affairs Council here in South Carolina. Yoga Nidra and the Power of Slowing Down is part of the CxC Amplified, CxC's Amplified and Ideas Summit presented by councils nationwide. This week, councils from around the U.S. are working together to highlight the power of our network. We encourage everyone joining us today to support your local World Affairs Council. We'll leave a few minutes at the end for any questions, so please type your questions in the chat box and we'll get to them when we're finished. Our session today is led by a special guest presenter special to us, Fannie Hungerford. Fannie is a Columbia, South Carolina native and a personal friend of mine. Hey, Fannie. Fannie is a yoga and meditation teacher based in Iowa City. She's Iowa's only para-yoga certified teacher, level 2. She's a firm believer in the time-tested power of the ancient practices of yoga. A lover of people and with great interest in the human condition, her teaching is grounded in the energetics and psychology of yoga and provides experiences for the soul alongside tools for leading a less burdened life. And as an initiate in the Sri Vidya spiritual tradition, she leans on the wisdom of the masters as she transmits the teachings for modern day practitioners. She aims to practice daily to tap into the boundless supply of peace, patience, playfulness, and love that is available to all of us. You can read more about Fannie and her practice at fanniehungerford.com. And if you're in a position to give, please consider donating. Venmo for donations for Fannie is at Fannie-Hungerford. I'll post both of these links in the chat box later so you can just go straight to them. Fannie, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing with us. I know that I could really use this, and I imagine many other people feel the same way. It's been a stressful couple of months, and I'm looking forward to getting grounded and relaxing a bit. So I'll turn the session over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Dixon. Really cool to be connected this way. And thank you so much, Liz from WACA in DC, for reaching out to me. This feels like a great honor and a super cool way to offer this practice and what I do to an audience that I maybe don't normally interface. And so as Dixon said, please type any questions that come up, maybe kind of in this first talk, and then maybe after the practice, feel free, we'll leave some time. Maybe Dixon, if you could just type into the chat box to at what time, maybe just exactly so I can keep track of that. I should close out so there is time for a question. I'll aim for like 10 minutes at the end, but if something different, just let me know. So yeah, thanks so much, Dixon. Thanks so much, Liz. And thanks to all of you who are joining us. I see a couple of familiar names and then, a lot of people that I don't know, obviously. So Yoga Nidra is a practice that is just within the large toolbox of yoga, right? But as we hear yoga today and sort of our modern culture, Western culture, what we associate to yoga is essentially maybe uber flexibility, some sort of pretzel-shaped pose, and wearing spandex and being on top of a mountain or something like that. And yet, one of my, I feel like, purposes in my career and my work as a yoga teacher is actually to expose people to sort of the vast system of yoga that exists beyond the poses. I like to do poses, but the other tools, right? The poses are kind of like the tip of the iceberg, and then that's all we see. And then there's so much below of what yoga is. And this practice in particular, I'd say, is one of my most favorite in the yoga toolbox. And over the last couple of years, both as a student and a teacher, I've been devoting a lot more time to Yoga Nidra. So it's Nidra, like hid, like the vowel in hid. Nidra, sleep. And then yoga is essentially action and awareness combined. So we could say that Yoga Nidra is sleep with awareness. And, you know, when we go to sleep, all right, at night, all right, sleep is, you know, so many wonderful things, right? It's the great equalizer, right? We kind of all are the same in our sleep, right? There's no differentiation, right, once we're asleep. And we forget a bit some of the ups and downs and the details of the day, right? I'm talking about like deep sleep, right? Once we're past dreaming, deep sleep, we're in this sort of like a mitigator, right? There's just this sort of balancing force that comes, and yet we don't really recall that, right? You don't wake up and you aren't like, oh my gosh, I felt in the middle of the night that I was just the same as everyone else in the world, all right? All of my kind of identifying factors felt away. We don't remember that. And what the yoga tradition aims to do is bring what's unconscious to make it more aware. So this is an unconscious experience that we have when we're asleep. We're all the same. But when we wake up, we don't really recall it. I'm back to like, oh, I'm Fannie, I'm in this body, and oh, my back hurts, and what am I gonna have for dinner, and what do I have to get done for work, and oh, there's this problem I'm dealing with my family, and this in my community, and this larger, right? We forget it all. We get immediately back into those kind of normal things of our day to day. And so one way we one thing we could consider Yoga Nidra to be is an opportunity to practice that level of experience, right? Of that sort of dissolution of maybe some kind of dividing factors between me and you. We dissolve it and then we're aware of it, right? So that's the idea, that I evolve or let go of some of these sort of things I believe to be true about me or my life, and I uncover through Yoga Nidra a state of deep rest that is comparable to sleep, and yet I'm aware of it. And yet there's a part of me that remains aware of that experience that's beyond waking, beyond dreaming, into that realm of a sort of non-dual or less dualistic kind of experience of me and you and good and bad, but a more unifying experience. And so this is the beauty of Yoga Nidra. A lot of people use it to support them with sleep deprivation. I mean, this is just a real issue, all right? Before pandemic times, people are sleep deprived, and then you add, you know, just the pace of our culture. And then also, you know, right now, the stress and agitation of this huge change in our lives and uncertainty, a lot of us are experiencing disrupted sleep. So I wouldn't recommend Yoga Nidra being a tool to help you fall asleep per se, but it can be a tool to help you sort of regain some rest during the day. But really the idea is that we don't fall asleep when we practice. The idea is that we go to this state of deep rest, but we don't go all the way to dull sleep, all right? Because we still want to be aware. And we know when we fall asleep, we're not aware. The reality is, though, for many of us, you lie down, you set up some blankets, you get a pillow under your head, and I start talking in a kind of calming, soothing voice, and we're like, right? Because we're so tired. But now is the opportunity to kind of, and I'll give some tools as to how we might not fall asleep, or if you do notice yourself falling asleep, what to do, okay? Because if this is going to become something you integrate into your life, you want to develop kind of a thread of intention that you stay aware and you don't fall asleep, all right? So it doesn't become a habit to fall asleep in Yoga Nidra. And I'd say the other reason I wanted to offer this right now, all right, beyond what I've said about kind of our fatigue, our kind of current level of fatigue, and then this idea of oneness and dissolving boundaries and identifying factors felt appropriate for this group and this World Affairs Council meeting. But also to become aware of transitions, right? And this is the other beauty of Yoga Nidra. is that it makes us aware, or we hope to strengthen the part of us that stays aware through transitions. And I would say right now we're in a massive transition. And it's very easy to fill that with doing or distraction or forgetting, right? Like we can forget, avoid, numb out, we can distract, we can do more and fill this space of transition. But if we really want to transform through this transition and to come out whole or to stay whole in the midst of it, the teachings of yoga would suggest that we want to stay aware in this transition, awake during the transition. So it's waking up, right? Going to sleep to wake up, right? Going to sleep, letting the body sleep and the mind sleep, so we can wake up to notice what is happening in the transition of life, right? What stays the same while everything else is changing? Is there a part of me that does stay the same? Is there a part of you the same, even while everything else is shifting? And the more we can connect to that part of us that stays the same, the more hopefully we can carry that guiding principle as we make decisions, as we engage with our relationships, working and personal, as we decide what's best for us day to day, moment to moment. So these are the reasons I wanted to share Yoga Nidra with you, right? To give you some stress reduction, to hopefully heighten your own capacity to be aware amidst whatever transition might happen in your day, in this moment, in the practice. And then also for us to perhaps experience or glimpse the part of us that is unified, right? That part of us that feels the same no matter who we think we are, okay? So again, just letting you know that any questions that arise, please just type them into the chat. The way the sequence will work here is I'm just going to guide you through some super simple movement, mostly just to kind of warm up the joints and bring a little wakefulness to the body, some prana, some energy moving in the body. And then I'll guide you into the Yoga Nidra. And then we'll come up for a short seated meditation, and then we'll close. And so now those of you that were here early, I was saying this would be a great time. It said in the description to have a pillow and a blanket. If you can have 2 blankets, that's ideal. If there's a space besides your bed or sofa to practice, I would recommend it. Something on the floor, as long as it's not too hard. You could put a blanket down, or if you have carpeted floor, or a yoga mat. But if you lie down on the bed, you might be more likely to fall asleep. All right. So now would be a good time to just gather some extra pillows, gather a blanket or 2 pillows would be great. And then something light to cover the eyes if where you are right now, it's light out. So if you're in the US, it's light out, but I don't know if there are people joining us from elsewhere in the world. But you'd want to have something lightweight, a scarf, a t-shirt, a thin towel, something that you can cover the eyes with if you're in a room that is bright. Okay, so I'm just going to give everybody a minute or 2 to maybe gather that stuff, and then I'll meet you standing in this, just on my mat here. Thanks for being here. This is cool. And so throughout this sequence that I'm going to do, unless indicated, the breath can be free, or you don't have to coordinate the movement with the breath. And again, as I said, it's just a movement for the joints, the major joints in the body, the glands, to just awaken the physical body a little bit before we go into this restful position. So I'm standing here with me. There's just a little bend in my knees, or some softness, and I'm going to begin by swinging the arms. So gentle swing of the arms back and forth. The jaw soft. And noticing the present moment, right? So what is awareness, right? I was talking about this kind of awareness of transitions, or this part of me that stays aware amidst change and transitions. Practice awareness any moment by simply recognizing that each moment is unique, that how we show up in each moment is also unique. So be aware of sensation, be aware of the surroundings, be aware of the breath and the body. Just going to shift this arm swing, so every other one, the elbows pull in by the waist. And again, the breath is free. However you're breathing is just right, as long as you're not holding or not breathing. Good, and then we're going to cross the arms, one more arm swing variation, alternating which arm comes on top. So I mentioned in the title of this webinar, the power of slowing down. I'm a big proponent for slowing down, right? Life is already fast enough. And the art of pausing, however small, right? It doesn't have to be elaborate. You can just let the arms slowly settle down by your side. Eventually coming to stillness, the eyes can softly close, and you notice here in this pause, slowing down, present moment awareness. What do you observe in the body, sensations, just from those three movements? How is this moment unique? Giving ourselves the gift of pause so that we can see more clearly. Great. All right, I'm just going to separate my feet a little bit more. And this one's a sort of twisting action, right? My toes turn out a little bit. I'm going to pivot on one foot as I twist to the side. And the arms can swing by my side. So I pivot on one foot, so I turn away from that leg. And again, the breath is free here. And then the next step is to keep the elbows in by the waist, and the head will stay forward. You can find a spot on the wall ahead of you to gaze at. And the body then rotates around the skull, just shifting where we feel the twist a little bit. Mindful that you're not holding the breath or working too hard here. Knees stay soft. Couple more. Great. Good. This one will integrate with the breath. Interlace the hands. Try to straighten the arms if you can. Deep inhale. As you exhale, bend your elbows. Allow the shoulder blades to squeeze together. Inhale, press the palms up. Interlace the hands, lengthen the spine. Exhale, bend the elbows, open the chest a bit. Let's do that 3 more times, coordinating with your breath. Good. And I'm just going to move a little closer for this one. All right, this is one that will stay standing for. My knees are going to bend and my elbows will straighten. Okay, so my knees are bent, my elbows are straight. Take a deep inhale, lift the tailbone, send the heart forward. As you exhale, draw the tailbone into the body and round the back of it. Inhale, tilt the pelvis forward, send the heart forward. As you exhale, pull the tailbone into the body, and then imagine you're drawing up awareness from the soles of the feet to the pelvic floor to the navel. Inhale, soften. Good, keep going. I want you to emphasize the exhale, squeezing in the navel toward the back body, like you draw your exhale through the feet up to the pelvic floor, squeeze the navel in. Let's do about 3 more. If anyone's pregnant, mindful of drawing the navel in too forcefully, obviously, no need to squeeze deeply there. Good, emphasizing the exhale, that drawing up from the feet to the pelvic floor, pull the navel in, all the way up, soften. Good, and then coming up to standing. Last standing one, we're going to march essentially, right? Just lifting the knees up. Let's emphasize the ascent of the knees rather than the descent of the feet. Notice the breath, as long as you're not holding it, it's fine. Great. Okay, we're gonna come down to all fours here. Last couple of movements. The first one will be a sort of neck roll, all right? So from table position, first drop the chin down toward the chest. And then float the ear over toward one shoulder. Drop the chin down through the chest, over to the other side, ear to the opposite shoulder. Let's keep going with your breath. Essentially tracing the collarbones with the chin. If you like, you can coordinate this one with the breath, exhaling as you come down, inhaling over to one side. Good. And then coming into a neutral position with the spine, gazing down, maybe just looking here to the side if you need to get the movement. I'm gonna lift one leg up. So my foot pointing toward the sky, and then I'm gonna take it out to the side and down. And 3 more of those circles, lubricating the hip joint. And then you'll lower the foot knee down. Same thing other side. You go out to the side, up, out to the side, and down. Up, out to the side, down. About 4 or 5. Lowering that knee, we're gonna go back to the first side and reverse it. So it's out to the side, up, and down. Out to the side, up, and down. And then other side, reverse, out to the side, up, down. And then both knees can come onto the mat. Maybe shift the hips from side to side. Great. Okay, so we'll start to set up the space now for Yoga Nidra. All right, in this space, I don't have a pillow, but I'll show you how I would set up my space if I were at home with a pillow. So I lay maybe 2 blankets. All right, now take the first blanket and spread it out. So this is gonna be for me to lie on, some extra softness, right? You wanna make yourself like a little Nidra nest, or I like to think of it also like the cloud, right? Lots of support. We go through life feeling like we're unsupported, right? But the reality is we have a lot of support, and there's an opportunity to lean into that and create support for yourself. So then my pillow, we'll just pretend that this blanket is a pillow. My pillow would go here, all right, for some support from my head. You got a pillow for the head, that's the requirement. And then if you have 2 more blankets, all right, this is a bolster. Many people, unless you do this sort of thing a lot, you might not have a bolster at home, but a bolster could go under the knees for sure. And if you don't have a bolster, you could take a bigger pillow, like a bed pillow, put it under the knees. Something to elevate the knees might feel good. You could also roll up a blanket to be like a little bolster to go under the knees, like so. And then ideally maybe another lightweight blanket or another blanket to go on top. So I would kind of come into the position. You don't have to have anything under the knees, but it can feel nice, right? And then I cover up with this blanket. And then I'm gonna take my scarf and then cover it over the eyes. Getting cozy. You want to be like the prince or princess in the pea, all right? No, nothing lumpy or uncomfortable under you, right? Take the time to make the adjustments. So I'm gonna give everybody some time to get your Nidra nest set up, and then we'll get started for the practice. Good, so ideally, once you're settled down, the arms rest down by your side, right? So rather than on the abdomen, the arms would rest down by the side. And it's ideal if you turn the hand just a little bit inward so that the fingertips, if you do have a blanket, the fingertips aren't necessarily kind of touching the blanket, but there's a little internal rotation. So more like the palms kind of face you. But don't work too hard to figure that out. If it feels awkward or uncomfortable, by all means, find the best position for your hands, right? And again, you want to be supremely comfortable. If there is some dullness right now, right? If you're going into this practice already feeling tired and fatigued, and you feel like you might fall asleep, one little yoga nidra trick is to bend one elbow, right? As you're lying down, you just bend the elbow, the fingertips would point skyward, and you keep the arm in that position, right? It just helps to keep a little bit of alertness so that you don't drift into sleep. If you do notice yourself fall asleep and you're aware of yourself falling asleep, it's fine, all right? Don't force it or try to stay awake, going back and forth, back and forth. But if you notice yourself falling asleep, what I would advise is actually to roll over onto your side and just give yourself a little cue, like I'm no longer practicing yoga nidra, I'm going to sleep, right? And just let yourself sleep, right? So if you feel yourself falling asleep, roll over to your side, and then just go to sleep rather than trying to fight it, right? But again, we're trying to stay aware. Letting the eyes close. Feel the body opening to the earth. Soften the jaw and the facial muscles. Remind yourself that in this time and space that you've set aside, there are no problems to solve, nothing to figure out. If you like, you could set a little intention for yourself. I will stay aware for the practice of yoga nidra. My body rests deeply, yet awareness will remain aware. Be aware of the space that surrounds you. And sense this space is filled with a supportive and healing tone. A sort of protection that you can move toward the state of yoga nidra with ease. Begin to deepen the breath. Finding this sweet space between effortless breathing and intentional breathing. So that the breath deepens to nourish you, but there's no strain. The abdomen softens to receive the in-breath and softens back on the out-breath. There is an expansion, space, light coming in on the inhale, and as the body exhales, let go and absorb the space that just came in on the in-breath. Eventually, let go of any shaping of the breath and allow the body to breathe on its own. Become aware of the body resting on the floor or whatever is beneath you. And be aware of sensation. Some sensations in the body at this time and space might be very familiar or recognizable. And then other sensations are more unique to this time and space. While observing sensation, notice if there are any places where the body might still be holding or where there is some effort engaged. And remember, here and now, there's nothing to hold on to. The body is being held. The more you can relinquish effort and soften, the more support will arise. Sense in this moment that you are resting on the earth herself. Feel the contours of your body supported by the earth. The earth now to hold you. Become aware of the breath and notice how the breath is shifted. Witness the body breathe. Inhale, flowing into exhale. And the exhale merges into inhale. The breath, a continuous stream, a continuous cycle. Mindful of the transition from inhale to exhale, and exhale to inhale. Be with the thread of continuity that all transitions. Begin to feel the body being breathed. You are no longer the breather. You are spacious awareness. Allow the awareness to gather at the point between the eyebrows and see and feel a little starlight and the vibration or words, peace, peace, peace. Awareness travels down to the throat, a little starlight, and if you like, peace, peace, peace. Just a silent reverberation of awareness, light, and peace at each point. Center of the right shoulder, right elbow, peace, light in the right wrist, tip of the right hand thumb, tip of the index finger, tip of the middle finger, effortlessness, tip of the ring finger, little finger, right wrist, right elbow, peace, light in the right shoulder, center of the throat, awareness in the left shoulder, peace and light, left elbow, left wrist, tip of the left thumb, tip of the index finger, tip of the middle finger, ring finger, tip of the little finger, left wrist, left elbow, shoulder, throat, deep in the center of the chest, behind the breastbone, light, peace, peace, peace. Right chest, deep in the heart space, the center of the chest, peace, starlight. Left chest, and center of the breastbone, deep in the chest. And see and feel all of these points like a constellation in the body, like the night sky. Be aware of the points as little starlight and the dark, vast space between the points. The breath, like a gentle breeze, moving through the night sky. Spaciousness and awareness. Breath and spaciousness. Become aware of the heart center, in the center of the chest, behind the sternum. Feel this space in you as the source of peace and effortless joy. Sense the abode of the heart, your source for peace and effortless joy. As you allow the body to move towards sleep, the mind to move towards sleep, awareness remains in the heart. And in this state of awareness, you can pose a question and be open to any image, feeling, or whisperings of words that may arise, or even sensation. Who am I? Who am I? Letting go of all effort, rest, asleep to the finite, awake to a more infinite awareness. Boundaries of the body dissolve. Rest. Become aware of the breath and the body once again. Invite a slightly deeper breath into the body. Maybe sending breath down all the way toward your feet, toward the palms of the hands. And as you begin to transition from the practice of Yoga Nidra to this next phase, be mindful as you transition. Stay aware as the body reawakens. You can move in any way that feels right. Gently roll over onto your right side as you're ready and pause for a moment there. Take a moment to reflect on that journey. Reflect on any insight, images, feeling states that may have arose. And then we'll come up into a seat. If you have your pillows there, you might just kind of wedge those underneath your seat for some support. If you have a chair easily accessible, that might feel good. Just sit for about a 2 or 3 minute closing meditation and then open the space up. Again, mindful of the transition of moving from lying down to upright. Once you are upright, if you're sitting in a cross-legged seat on the floor, Just be sure you have some support under the pelvis. If you're in a chair, knees and hips level. You can rest the hands on the thighs or knees or just in the lap, wherever they feel most comfortable. Do your best to lengthen the spine and let the shoulders settle over your pelvis. Close the eyes if that's comfortable. Take a moment to notice, observe the present moment. Sensations in the body, feeling state, the legacy of the Yoga Nidra practice as it's unfolding now in you. There's nothing to do. You don't need to deepen your breath right now or aim to do any action. Simply be aware of this moment and how it feels to be in the body at this time. And if you heard anything or felt or saw anything toward the end of Yoga Nidra there for that question of who am I, maybe come back to that image, statement, feeling again here. Without trying to understand it or decipher it or define it, simply be with that insight that arose from that state. Take a gentle breath in and out. Before you open your eyes, before we end this practice, take a moment to consider this feeling state now, this mental perception. Ask yourself what in your life might benefit from this feeling, or who in your life, anything you might be working on or doing. Just consider how you might take this feeling or remember this feeling or use this practice and take it outward into the world, into your action, into your relationships. And again, deep breath in, deep breath out, bowing into yourself, let the head drop. Peace, peace, peace. All right. So just want to close this time if anyone has any, or open this time here for any questions or insights. Would love to, if you type your question in the chat box, I'd be happy to answer it if I am able to. And what I just want to say right now while everyone is still with us, to drink a lot of water. Well, some people have left, but just really vital to hydrate. It seems like such a subtle practice, but it's actually, Yoga Nidra is a purifying practice. So be sure this afternoon, wherever you are, to hydrate well and drink plenty of water. No questions? If you have the time and space to journal or write any reflections down, Yoga Nidra is such a great opening for insight. So if you have the moment now, even just 3 to 5 minutes of reflection on your experience can be really profound. All right, it doesn't seem like there are any questions that are coming up. Again, thank you all for being here. And how long have I been practicing yoga? Well, I'm 41 and I started getting into yoga in college. So about 20 to 21 years, I'd say, probably. And I've been teaching for about a dozen. Yeah. Is Nidra my favorite? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, Yoga Nidra, right now, yeah, I think so. Yoga Nidra, and I'm really into chanting. But I think Yoga Nidra is now, I meditate every day and I do Yoga Nidra about 4 to 6 times a week. I'd say Yoga Nidra is kind of getting up there as my favorite. Optimal time, Bill, I would say not too late in the day, especially if you have trouble sleeping. You don't want to do it much later in the afternoon because it wake you up. All right, I'd be really curious, for you to notice how you feel the rest of the day depending on where you are. All right, so not too late in the day. First thing in the morning can be really nice. Midday is nice. In a time when you need to transition, all right, from one activity to another, but I wouldn't say much later than 4, 5, 6, definitely no later than 5, but I'd say kind of like 4 o'clock might be the latest. Does it change over time, and how often do I practice? Well, I just said, yeah, I practice. Yes, it will change over time. Less dullness, more awareness, and I try to practice. Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, I think daily, but once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. But now I'm doing it much more regularly. Oh, thank you. Is 15 minutes sufficient? I'd say 15 minutes would be the minimum. Yeah, 15 minutes anywhere to an hour. So what we did was about 23, I think, 23, 24 minutes is what we did. So, yeah. So yeah, 15 minutes. Yeah, para yoga, thank you. Okay, I think those are most of the questions. Are there good resources for learning more about Yoga Nidra? There are a lot of resources out there and some differing opinions. I'd say the best way is to practice it on your own. There are some articles out there. My teacher, Rod Stryker, will have a book coming out within the next couple years called Enlightened Sleep. There are a couple books out there, but they're really different. So I hesitate to kind of give blanket recommendations for the approach. But I would say the best resource is to find some teachers that resonate with you and do their practices and learn what they have to say about it. Yeah. Yeah, Shanti, your question, is this a practice we can do on our own or should we find a studio? I can do it on my own now. I've learned the techniques to do it on my own, but I'd say for the first 8 years or 10 years, I've really, self-guided is newer for me within the last couple of years. So a recording is sufficient, all right? If you can find some good recordings, feel free to write to me and I could send you some. You can reach me via my website. I'd be happy to send you a recording or 2 to work with. But yeah, finding a studio that has it or a teacher that you resonate with and getting some recordings is ideal way to start. And then eventually maybe learning some techniques to do it on your own. It takes some practice though. Thanks for the questions. And Dixon will have a quick closer. I think we're good to go. All right, thank you, Dixon. Can't hear you, Dixon. Are you unmute yourself? There you go.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Fannie, thank you so much. Healing existential salve. Much good. My stepdaughter and I really enjoyed the session here today, and we really appreciate it and look forward to diving deeper into Nidra Yoga. To all of our participants, thank you so much for attending CxC Amplified, the session today. Remember to support your local councils for more information and to keep tuned in to our weekly schedule going on all week. check out cbycamplified.com. I'll type that into the chat here. I hope you all have a relaxing and productive week. May the 4th be with you.